Hello and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Veenu Sandhu. It's the 14th of July 2023 and here are the top stories for the day. What does Prime Minister Modi's visit mean for India-France ties? Why is India failing to manage its river systems? Will gold prices fall more? And what is Project 75I? Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in France for a 2-day visit. Apart from attending the Bastille Day military parade as a guest of honor, he is expected to seal some crucial deals. The purchase of 26 Rafale M fighter jets is likely to be one of them. What else is on the table and what does Modi's visit mean for India-France ties? Bhaswar Kumar does a reality check.
Soon after, a special Air India One aircraft with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and a high-level delegation on board took off for France, the Defence Ministry approved plans to buy 22 Rafale Marine fighter aircraft along with 4 trainers and 3 Scorpion submarines for the Indian Navy from France. The proposed deals have been given an acceptance of necessity by the Defence Acquisition Council and are likely to be announced during PM Modi's ongoing visit to France. They could be worth over 90,000 crore rupees. PM Modi is in Paris on July 13th and 14th, where he will also be the guest of honor at the French National Day or Bastille Day. The Indian Air Force arsenal already has 36 Rafale aircraft, which were bought under a 58,000 crore rupee deal with France's Dassault Aviation in 2016. And earlier this year, the 5th Scorpion submarine built by India's Mazagon Docks was commissioned. Under Project 75, 6 Scorpions were to be built by MDL with technology from France's naval group. The last of the 6 subs will be delivered in 2024. After Russia, France has emerged as the second largest supplier of arms to India between 2018 and 2022. These weapon systems are an example of the existing depth in India-France ties, which are expected to deepen with PM Modi's visit to France at the invitation of President Emmanuel Macron. And a day before the visit, Foreign Secretary Vinay Kwatra stressed on its importance.
The visit of Prime Minister to France would be both rich in substance and also in form, and we would believe that it would set new benchmarks for our strategic partnership in years ahead.
In his departure statement, PM Modi also highlighted that 2023 marks the 25th anniversary of India and France's strategic partnership. Against this backdrop, a 25-year vision statement for India-France bilateral ties could be one of the outcomes of the PM's visit. Separate joint statements could also reportedly emerge on strategic ties and the Indo-Pacific. Today, on July 14th, after the IAF performs a flypast at the Bastille Day parade, delegation-level bilateral talks will be held between PM Modi and President Macron. The discussions will include security and space cooperation, technology partnership, cybersecurity, counter-terrorism, climate change, Make in India in defense, and supply chain integration. The two leaders will also interact with CEOs from both countries under the India-France CEO Forum. The visit will conclude with a state banquet at the Louvre Museum, which will be hosted by President Macron in honor of PM Modi. So, what does PM Modi's visit mean for India-France ties? And what are the implications for the strategic partnership?
France has been a preferred partner as far as our defense relationship is concerned. Part of this draws from a perception in India that just as India is very keen to maintain its strategic autonomy, to emerge as a kind of an independent pole in international affairs, that is the same aspiration which France has had for several generations. So what I see during this visit is partly a reflection of that kind of somewhat unique relationship between the two countries. But I also see that opportunities have opened up for expanded not only security relations, but also relations in other fields. As India's own profile, as its own economic, profile has been increasing. Obviously, France, like other major countries, is interested in strengthening its relationship with India. But if you ask me whether this represents some kind of a quantum jump in the relationship, or that there is a major departure that we are witnessing, I would say that is perhaps exaggerated.
Specific to the defense sector, I would say that there is a tactical dimension to the visit, meaning that there are some deals and agreements that could be concluded. But I think the real significance of the Modi visit is in laying the foundation for a strategic understanding between the two countries. Now, the India-France relationship is 25 years old in its current context. But the strategic dimension is if Prime Minister Modi and his French counterpart, they are able to conclude an agreement for long-term strategic cooperation, which will begin with technology transfer. For instance, in aero engines, whether it is the jet or the helicopter, that would provide, first of all, I think, greater manufacturing know-how in India. If all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed for both sides, and also give us some technology transfer. And finally, I think the real icing is if we can get design support for aero engines. That will be a very big deal.
Prime Minister Modi is visiting France and will be the chief guest at their major national day, the Bastille Day parade. It's a signal honor for India. State visits have taken place to France earlier also, but all of this is a continuum and a serious way up. The French are, in a sense, presence in the Indo-Pacific. After all, they are our islands in the Pacific, which are French territories. So therefore, there is strategic congruence also. Now, with a great sense of pride, I say, not only is India the largest country in the world in population terms, but the fifth largest economy in the world. I might say from the last time we had a big visit to France, we are now a bigger economy than them. And this is in nominal terms, the latest IMF statistic. So, there is a congruence of the two countries meeting together. I think this is a very fruitful, productive visit. It will take things forward.
While opinion may vary on the extent of the visit's impact, experts agree that it will be productive and that Indo-French ties will be enhanced, driven by a shared interest in maintaining autonomy.
Back home, rivers in North India are in spate. Many of them are flowing close to the danger mark, inundating low-lying areas and leaving thousands of people homeless. Parts of the national capital are also submerged in the Yamuna waters. The question is, are we failing to manage the river system? Tariq Ahmed does a deep dive.
Yesterday, the water levels at River Yamuna touched a record 208.4 meters, leaving its banks and nearby places flooded. As the water level of Yamuna rose, an extreme flood alert was announced at locations around the river, while schools and offices remained closed. Heavy rains over a short period of time in Delhi and surrounding areas, together with the release of water from Hathni Kund barrage in Haryana, are the immediate cause of the flooding. However, experts pointed out that siltation and encroachments along the Yamuna river bank also played a role in exacerbating the flood situation. From Wazirabad to Okhla, there are more than 20 bridges in the 22-kilometer stretch of the river in Delhi. The obstructed flow, formation of sandbars, and the heavy rains in Himachal Pradesh too has caused the swelling of Yamuna.
So this year's flooding is more a result of the extreme rain we had on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and which has resulted in a large flow of water. And it normally takes about 2 days for this water to reach Delhi. So what has happened since Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is now hitting Delhi. after a gap of about 2-3 days. So it's the discharge from the higher mountains which has led to this large scale flooding not witnessed in the last 5 decades or so.
And that's not just the national capital. Several areas in Assam, Orissa, and Himachal Pradesh are already underwater. The reasons are numerous and fairly apparent too. Reckless deforestation and the degradation of the vegetative cover on the catchments of rivers have increased siltation in rivers like Ganga, Kosi, Brahmaputra, Yamuna, and more. Siltation reduces the water holding capacity of rivers. The discharge of waste into the rivers has added to this problem. Besides, the riverbeds and their floodplains, which are supposed to be buffer zones, have been encroached upon. And that's not all. Regulation of water flows into river systems through coordinated opening and shutting of floodgates of dams has also been lacking. Here's what experts say why India has been failing to manage its river systems.
Not necessarily it is about legality or illegality of it. We have been, constructing on the floodplains. Lots of government projects as well as private projects. It has happened inside the floodplains, which means we have a smaller buffer right now, and that means the flow would become much more intense, and which would. These kind of constructions might not necessarily affect that same place, but it would affect another place where it has been transferred, and it will become much more intense in the other part which has been affected, and that is the thing that we are seeing right now.
We have this a more recent fad is of creating these riverfront projects in India. So there is a fad that we should have more and more riverfronts, and we should somehow create concrete structures on both sides of the river, and the river flows like a canal. So that is actually a very bad idea. And in Europe, they are dismantling the riverfronts. But in India, we seem to be in a mad frenzy to develop more and more of riverfronts as tourism points.
Let's understand what can be done to improve the river systems in the country.
These are Himalayan rivers. These are not rivers originating from central India. So they come with a lot of force, and the river needs to expand. So you should allow the green part of the river bank to be retained. Follow the law. Don't allow any more encroachment than what has already happened. So that, I think, stringent action, if it is not taken, the river will, when it gets constricted, will flood much more in areas which it would normally go into. It will find its way. So the water has to find its way, it will.
Experts point out that allowing the river to take its natural course is essential for improving the river systems in India, especially the Himalayan rivers that have more intensity should be allowed to have its river banks to flow the excess water in the rainy season. Need of the hour is expeditious steps by the government to remove encroachments from river banks and expand dredging projects across major Indian rivers and their tributaries. The latter can also go a long way in fulfilling India's ambitions of deepening the maritime and waterways economy.
It is not just the rivers. Rains are also in a way fueling the vegetable prices. Retail inflation has reversed the downward march and has jumped to 4.8% in June. And amidst fresh talks of interest rate hikes, gold prices have corrected about 7% in 2 months. Gold had touched lifetime highs in May, but is there a downside to this correction? Or should one start accumulating gold at current levels? Nikita Vasisht brings you the report.
Renewed hawkish fervor among global banks, especially the US Fed and European Central Bank, has spelled more trouble for gold. From an all-time high of $2,085 per ounce or 63,500 rupees per 10 gram, hit in May this year, gold prices have come down to $1,937 or 58,780 rupees. This is roughly 7% fall in 2 months. On a year-to-date basis, the prices are up 6% in calendar year 2023 as against 8% rise in Sensex index. Fixed deposits, meanwhile, are offering 7 to 8% yearly returns. Typically, a tighter monetary policy strengthens the US dollar, which puts pressure on safe havens like gold.
Whenever there's a rate hike cycle change, it directly impacts the non-yielding asset, that is gold, because definitely there's a safe haven versus riskier asset kind of a deal that market participants are looking at. Till now, there was a tug of war, but I think a sell-off in safe haven assets is what we are getting the sentiments from the market that probability for further rate hikes is pressurizing kind of gold prices on the higher end.
In its last monetary policy, the US Federal Reserve said that it would go for 2 more rate hikes this year in a bid to bring inflation below 2%. The Fed's next meeting is scheduled for July 25 and 26, followed by one each in September, October, and December 2023. Moreover, analysts feel better than expected growth in the US economy, a strong labor market, and hardening of US Treasury yields are further capping upside in gold prices. So, does this mean gold is losing its sheen over other asset classes?
On the lower end, I think 56 to 57,000 on domestic front we see as a strong support. Prices could trade in a range. On the higher side, we've maintained our target at 63,000 from a medium to long term perspective. So all in all, we don't see an incremental gains are there at least on a short term basis. The next 2 to 3 months we could see a sideways kind of a momentum.
And should investors consider buying gold at current levels?
The lower levels in gold could be towards 1860 and 1830. Therefore, there is a high probability that gold could test slightly lower levels from the current 1920 levels. But that would be very limited. Therefore, there is a little more time for those who would want to buy gold to wait till they would get more appropriate levels.
Overall, analysts expect gold prices to remain under pressure till the monetary policy tightening is over globally. Today on July 14, investors will track India's wholesale inflation print for June and react to Wipro's Q1 FY24 results.
He's making plans for an early retirement. Business Standard.
Benchmark indices, meanwhile, have been soaring high for a while now, and some defense-related stocks are shooting through the roof. The stock of Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders has more than doubled this year. It hit a record high on Thursday amid news that India may sign an agreement with France to build more submarines. The country has built a fleet of submarines under Project 75, and now it plans to build a fleet of advanced subs under Project 75 India. Vasudha Mukherjee has more on these projects.
The Indian Navy got its first submarine in 1967 from the then USSR, and in the late 1980s, India had a bunch of these Foxtrot-class submarines. In early 1990s, the then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi placed an order for 4 Type 209 submarines from Germany. They are called Shishumar class in the Indian Navy, and all of these submarines were conventional. The Indian Navy currently has 16 diesel-powered submarines and 2 Arihant-class nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. Of the 16 conventional submarines that India has, 6 are Kalvari class or Scorpene class submarines of France. They are conventional diesel-electric attack submarines. All these 6 submarines were built at Mazagon Dock under the ambitious Project 75. And there are 4 Type 209 or Shishumar class of Germany. The rest are Kilo class from Russia. Project 75 was a plan to build 6 Scorpene class attack submarines at Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited in Mumbai. The government had in 1998 signed a contract with French defense contractors DCNS to make these Scorpene class submarines in India. They are called Kalvari class in India. While 5 of these submarines have been built, the last one, INS Worksheet, has commenced sea trials, and it is likely to be inducted in the Navy by the end of this year. Meanwhile, in 1999, soon after the Kargil War, India approved a 30-year program for 24 conventional submarines for the Navy. The plan has now been modified to 18 conventional plus 6 nuclear-powered boats. And now, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in France, there are reports that New Delhi may sign to build another 3 Scorpene-class submarines at Mazgaon dock under the same Project 75. Project 75 India, or Project 75I, is a follow-on initiative to Project 75. It is a program to build advanced submarines with fuel cells and air-independent propulsion system. It will make them silent and allow them to stay underwater for over 2 weeks in one go. The government had floated a tender to build these advanced submarines under Project 75I in June 2021. The French don't meet key tender requirements of the Indian Navy and are out of the race. They have reportedly proposed to build 3 more Scorpene submarines under the old Project 75 at Mazgaon dock. And in the June this year, Mazgaon Dock Shipbuilders Limited and German shipbuilders ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems joined hands to bid for the Rs 43,000 crore project. Larsen and Turbo too had signed an agreement with Spain's Navantia to bid for the project.
I'm backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.
China, meanwhile, has close to 60 submarines, while North Korea has an astounding 70, even more than the US, which has 67 submarines. Well, that's all for today. For more news and analysis, please log into our website, business-standard.com. Thank you for watching.
For more news, views and updates, subscribe to Business Standard on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast and Spotify. Also follow us on YouTube, Vimeo, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook and LinkedIn.